What can be expected from law enforcement in Europe and the U.S. following the deadly terrorist attacks in Brussels Tuesday? Insight from Dr. Alex Del Carmen, who heads up the Department of Criminal Justice at Tarleton State University in Fort Worth, Texas. Alex, what are we looking at?
So I think what happens, what is teaching us is the fact that we are incredibly vulnerable, even though we've known that for some time. And those of us that write and teach on terrorism, we could have told you this a year ago or maybe 5 years ago, that our vulnerability remains rather high. What you're looking at and what you've seen in Brussels is you've seen that terrorists are now willing and able and capable, more importantly, of detonating bombs outside of the security area where they can still have massive casualties and be able to have the effect of imposing terror on the fellow citizens. And so clearly what you've seen here is you've seen a pattern that they're now, that these security measures at airports are essentially limited. They are limiting the ability of law enforcement to be able to defray or deter these attacks from taking place.
All right, so what makes the U.S. different from Europe, if at all, when it comes to, say, prevention or recognition of these types of attacks?
I think what obviously we have, and I'm willing to say this on the record, I mean, we have the best law enforcement in the world. Our capabilities surpass that of the European continent as well as other parts of the world. Having said that, our vulnerabilities are equally, if not greater, than those in Europe. We have the United States will continue to be a target for terrorists around the world. We are their primary goal. Right now, they're going for the low-lying fruits available, which are basically European airports and train stations. In the United States, as a country, we don't use train stations the way in Europe, in the European Union you use, but we all fly everywhere we go. And clearly what they did in Brussels, is something that they could easily do in the United States as well.
All right. We're speaking with Dr. Alex Del Carmen. He's the executive director of the School of Criminology, Criminal Justice, and Strategic Studies at Tarleton State University in Texas. And we're talking about law enforcement's response to the terror attacks in Brussels. Vulnerabilities here in the U.S., What do you kind of preach all the time about what we don't recognize or don't address?
Well, I think in the United States we assume that we are going to be safe every time we go shopping, every time we go to a mall, every time we go to an airport, every time we go to a train station or to a bus station. Our assumption in the U.S. is that we are going to make it back home without any problems. And so most of the countries in the world that are affected by terrorism, i.e. Israel, they recognize that this is a reality for them on a daily basis. And so they have to put up with many of the security protocols that we in the U.S., quite frankly, don't tolerate and don't want to tolerate. We don't want to have the idea of going into an airport being scrutinized as much as we are currently, and we think that is a hindrance in our ability to get on a plane. Equally so, I'm sure that most Americans would not like the idea of going into a shopping mall and having to be patted down or go through a security sensor. But that's a reality that's going to come. At some point, we're going to realize that we'd rather go through those security protocols and be safe than perhaps take chances with our lives and those of our children.
Yeah. All right. So when are these changes going to happen? Now that you brought them up, I mean, in the coming months, is it going to be another year or two?
I think it depends on whether or not they happen in the U.S. and whether or not we finally identify the fact that those of us that have been saying these things for years are finally going to be recognized by the mere fact that they're happening here. The reality is that most of terrorism that takes place throughout the world, we see it as far removed from U.S. soil. We see it as far removed from the rural and the countryside of the United States. And not until it happens on our U.S. soil does it begin to catch our attention. And sadly, 9/11 was a recognition of that. And as a result of that, as we all know, the government had a major overhaul of our security infrastructure in the U.S. But I'm afraid that is one of many attacks that are going to be coming to the U.S. in the near future and the distant futures as well. I think the FBI is doing a superb job of, especially under, the Director Comey, to try to keep us safe on a daily basis. But unfortunately, as he has said on the record, he cannot immunize the United States from being deterring all terrorist plots that are being built against us. So I think these security measures will come, unfortunately, after the attacks take place.
Alex Del Carmen from Tarleton State University in Fort Worth.